for the masses.
Headline edition, July 8, 1947. The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found and is now in the possession of the Army.
If the game is rigged, change the game. Game changer.
I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
This is Fade to Black with your host, Jimmy Church, on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
I need your help to get to the year 1985.
You're listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Good evening. Fade to Black. Bespoke Radio for the masses. Yeah. How you doing? Today's Tuesday, March 8th, 2022. 67 days into the new year. Only 298 days left. We are live from a bunker somewhere in the middle of nowhere. A total undisclosed location. Yeah. But it is beautiful. Oh, it is. You have no idea. I think you do by now. I would like to welcome everybody listening all around the world, all across the United States. Hither and thither, to and fro, back and forth, up and down, east and west, north and south, far and near. This is Fade to Black for KJCR, the Game Changer, and UnX Networks. I am your host, Jimmy Church. What is cracking? How you doing? How you doing? All right. Yeah. Our Changing World Week here on Fade to Black. Great show last night. Roderick Martin. Tonight, Maureen St. Germain is back with us to help us elevate. That's what we are going to do tonight. I have her two latest books. One is updated, one is new, Beyond the Flower of Life, and Opening the Akashic Records. Right there. And so we'll be discussing this and a whole lot more tonight. Maureen is the best and has been an OG Fader Not and a part of this show from the beginning. And it's great to have her back on with us, and it's going to be a great night. So stay right there. Tomorrow night, Richard Dolan returns. We're going to be talking about Our World on Edge on World Week here on Fade to Black. And then Thursday night's another Fader Night with open lines all night long. All right. Yeah. How you doing? How you doing? Tonight we're going to elevate. I'm in a great mood. I'm in a great mood. We did a lot of work today before we get started. As you can see, the website has had a huge go through, and we're not done. But if you haven't checked out the website, go and see what's happening over there. And we're just, the world is changing. Got to change along with it. And I'm a loud voice when it comes to, especially right now. Right now, I think that we all know. We all do. There's nobody on this planet that doesn't know that things are changing, and they're changing fast. And not only with the end of the pandemic, which we knew it was going to end eventually. It seemed like it was going to go on forever, but it is winding down, and it's winding down fast. And you've got to be ready. You've got to be ready. The vacation is over. A lot of tragedy, a lot of pain that people have gone through. And I understand all of that, and I've certainly dealt with my share of stuff over the last couple of years, and I don't really talk about it on the air. But the point to it all is we're all in this together, and I keep stressing you've got to be ready, because when the flip switch happens, you've got to be ready, man. It's a lane that you're merging on, and traffic on that freeway is going to be busting out at 80 miles an hour, and you're going to merge into traffic. You can't be doing 50. You've got to be doing 85. You've got to be ready. You've got to be ready, and the time is now. And then with everything else that is happening, so yes, and I'm responding to those changes too. And to be ready, like little things like, the website and colors and graphics and things and ideas is always moving forward, right? And not to get complacent, So there you go. I mean, I'll give you a little example before we move on. It's the little things, right? But they all add up. I've talked about these microphones. And I've been going through microphones. It's keeping things moving forward. And I've had an atomic clock, a studio clock, for, I've had 3. But the one that I'm using now, I've had for 4 years. And it's being replaced. And this is a big deal to me. My clock sits right there on the wall, stares at me. Out of everything in this studio, probably the most important thing in here, besides the microphone, is that clock. And here's the camera, right there. I'm looking at the camera now. I'm looking at the clock. Clock. It's staring at me. And I've got a new atomic clock coming in, studio clock, red LEDs. And it's big. It's like this. But it's something that I've always wanted, and it was always in the background. The time is now. I need a new atomic clock, and that baby's coming in, man, and it's going to be right there. It's 30 inches. It's like this, man. Yeah, I can't wait. It's going to be here in 2 days. So there you go. All right. Just get ready. And that's why Maureen St. Germain is with us tonight. We're going to be talking about all of this. You can follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. Follow me right there at JChurchRadio. And the sandbox is hashtag F2B in Twitter. And I say it every night, and it's true. It's right there. It's right in front of me. Hashtag F2B. And you can post right there in the sandbox and hang out with all of the other Fadernauts. They're all right there. And, of course, hashtag F2BQ is Fade to Black questions. And, yes, the world is a trippy place right now, and I've got some crazy breaking news. It's going to start with coffee. Starbucks is suspending all business activity in Russia. That's right. And its licensees will temporarily shutter all locations there. The Seattle-based chain is also suspending shipments of its products to Russia. The coffee chain has about 130 outlets in Russia, and the announcement comes after McDonald's said earlier today that it would temporarily close all of its 850 restaurants in the country. Likewise, both Coca-Cola and Pepsi announced today that they will also halt all business operations and activity in Russia, and then Amazon joined in as well. Dating site Bumble, right, also joined the crowded field of companies fleeing Russia today, announcing that it would remove all of its apps from the Apple App Store and Google Play Store in Russia and Belarus. Other companies have already severed its ties with Russia, including IKEA, Toyota, Nike, BP, Shell, and major shipping companies FedEx and UPS. That's right, FedEx and UPS are no longer shipping or receiving anything inside of Russia. The BBC has resumed reporting in Russia after passing of a censorship law last week that could lead up to 15 years in prison for criticism of the Ukraine invasion. In a statement just before showtime tonight, the BBC said it had considered the implications of the new legislation alongside the urgent need to report from inside Russia, and added that nothing will stop the BBC and their editorial standards. There you go. New York Times pulled their staff out of Russia today because of this new law. A recently discovered asteroid seemed to be on a trajectory to hit Earth next year, but the orbit recalculation eventually revealed it's going to miss our planet. The 230-foot wide asteroid 2022 EA1 was just discovered back on January 7th, and it scared the crap out of space defenders because it appeared to be bound to collide with our planet on July 4th, 2023. Too soon, by the way, to launch a deflection mission, according to a statement from the European Space Agency. The new calculations show the space rock passing us at a safe distance of about 6.2 million miles away. That's more than 20 times the distance to the moon. And man, tell me you don't think of Don't Look Up, right? I mean, right? July 4th, 2023. And by the way, a 230-foot wide asteroid penetrating the atmosphere is enough to level an entire major metropolitan city. Think about that. But it's going to miss us. Let's get this show cracking. Happy birthday to today. All right, ladies. James Vanderbeek. James Vanderbeek is 44 years old. Dawson's Creek. The Monkees' Mickey Dolenz today is 77. The Eagles' OG bass player Randy Meisner today is 76. He's the one that got away. I like Timothy B. Schmidt. He's great. He really is. But Randy Meisner was amazing. And Gary Newman today is 63. One-hit wonder. Remember that song, Cars? Ding, 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 Cars. You remember that song? Man, that was a toe tapper. Gary Newman today, 63 years old. Our dead guy's birthday today is Clive Burr. 1957 to 2013, died at the age of 56. Cliff joined Iron Maiden in 1979, auditioning and joining upon the recommendation of then Iron Maiden guitarist Dennis Stratton. He played on their first 3 records, Iron Maiden, Killers, and the big one, The Number of the Beast, which was the maiden debut of Bruce Dickinson. Clive was fired from the band in 1982 during the Beast on the Road tour. He was replaced by the band's current drummer, Nico McBrain. He died in his sleep on March 13, 2013 in London, 5 days after his 56th birthday, due to complications related to multiple sclerosis. Happy birthday, Clive Burr. On this day in history, 2014. Man. Malaysia Airlines Flight 370 vanishes with 239 people on board after taking off from Kuala Lumpur, then veers off course. Most of the plane and everyone on board are never seen again. On this day in 2014. That pretty much happened live on the air. Live on the air. Crazy. Just went missing. Fader fact. Okay. This one's a big one. Fader fact. In 1956, now I guarantee you've never heard of this. And I'm going to say this now. Look it up. You ready? In 1956, the U.S. Air Force attempted but were unable to shoot down a runaway drone in Southern California. All of their rockets fell back to Earth, causing large brush fires and damaging homes and vehicles here in the city of Palmdale. It became known as the Battle of Palmdale. And that is your Fader fact. Man, I vetted this today. I looked it up, read the whole story. There's a movie there. There's certainly an episode of Fade to Black there. It's crazy. And back then, 1956, because this is it's a nice little town now. It's all new and fresh and all of that. Back then, there wasn't much here. And I can only imagine what everybody was thinking. A runaway drone, and they fired missiles at it. Crazy. Right inside of the United States, inside of a city, a town. Crazy. The Battle of Palmdale. All right. Tonight, we welcome very special guest Maureen St. Germain. She is back. She's going to tell us it's time to elevate. We're going to do all of that tonight. Tomorrow night, Richard Dolan returns, and he's going to be here to talk about our world on edge and where we are right now. And if you think about what Richard has been trying to tell us over the last couple of years, he's been heating it up, and saying, there's something going on. There is something going on. I'm warning you people. You're not listening to me. And he's kept it up. And then look where we are right now. So Richard's going to be with us. Tomorrow night's going to be a great show. Thursday night is another Fader night with open lines all night long. Now I need to hit this River Moon coffee. rivermoonwellness.com. Is that the Fader fact? Is that the Battle of Palmdale, where a pair of F-89 Scorpions failed to shoot down a drone? There it is, man. Isn't that crazy? Right here, man. Right here. The other day, here, I'll show you guys something. I didn't want to post this, but the other day, I'm sitting out in the backyard, and I filmed this, and I think this is it. Let me see here. Oh, no, that's not it. Hold on a minute. Hold on. Oh, that's a U2. Let's see. Is this it? That's another U2. Man, two U2s in 2 days. Where is okay, check this out. This is literally flying right over my house. Right there, that's a video. Just look right over the top of my house. Just sitting, I'm out there with the hummingbirds, kicking it. Hear the, like what is that? Grabbing the camera, just right overhead. Crazy. All right, yeah, the world is changing, man. It's crazy. It's crazy. But tonight it's time to elevate. River Moon Coffee, rivermoonwellness.com. Head over to our new look website. Go over and check it out. It is gorgeous. And hats off to Drew. Hats off to Drew. Talked to him this morning. I said, how you doing? I'm tired. Well, you're going to get more tired. There's no time to rest right now, man. No time to rest. We've got stuff to do. And he's just a trooper. So, yeah. So head over to the website, River Moon Wellness, right there. The Black Moon products are there. Click, head over, and certainly get some Fade to Black blend, the best coffee in the world. And oh, you know what? I'm going to do a little. I'm going to do a little sneak peek. I just want to let everybody know that this Monday, which is, let me see, what's the date on Monday? What's the date? This Monday, which is the 14th, March 14th, Dave Scott is going to be on this program. Dave Scott. But we're doing a twofer that night, right? So Dave Scott, the great Canadian radio host, is going to be on with us. And then immediately after the program, after he's done here, Fade to Black Raps, I'm going over on his show. So we're going to do two. He's going to be here, and then I'm going to be there. That's on Monday. I'm really looking forward to that. All right, let me get started here. I remember talking to somebody about 4 or 5 years ago, and alone. Okay, well, we were with people, but the conversation was away from everybody, and this person said to me, if the world doesn't elevate to 5D this year, I'm out. And I said, what do you mean you're out? I have been waiting. I have done my work. I'm not sure if I'm actually 5D or not, but I've put all of the time in and I've invested years into this, and I'm waiting for everybody else. And we're supposed to get this done. And if the world doesn't elevate to 5D, I'm out. I go, you can't quit. It's something you just don't walk away from, right? And I said, why? If you're 5D, why are you so angry? Because there was anger here. You don't get it, man. You don't get it. I said, I do. You're not 5D. I don't know if I am, but I'm certainly willing to try, and I'm working on myself. I mean, but if you're 5D, how come you're angry? Because nobody else is working on this, and promises have been made, and that everybody was going to elevate to 5D, whether they were working on themselves or not. And if it doesn't happen this year, I'm out. I said, well, I just don't think it works that way. And now, this is somebody that really understands, or felt that they really understood what 5D is. And myself, I immediately, started to really talk to my friends like Maureen St. Germain and others about this and the processes that were there. And I've had so many great minds on this show to discuss this very important issue, because I wanted to know, the processes behind this for sure, and how to do this, so I could share it with everybody else out there. But more importantly, I wanted to get as much information about this, so when I do have a conversation with somebody like this, who is upset and is about ready to walk, and I don't have a real response. I didn't have a foundation. I've read the books and I've done the interviews, but am I absorbing it right? Do I know the history? You know what I mean? And I felt that I didn't. So I went out and did everything that I could, and I still continue to do, to bring on guests to talk about not only what is 5D and 6D, what is 4D, what's 3D, all of this and the processes behind it, from as many minds as I could. And I keep going back to Maureen St. Germain. And not only is she knowledgeable, but she has a way of communicating. And I get Maureen, and I understand things when she helps me on this journey. And that's why she's on the show tonight. And specifically with where we are right now, because I feel there are transitions happening, and very real transitions, not the awakened community consciousness crystals transition. I'm talking about this world. This world is changing, and it's changing right in front of us. And we need to do everything that we can for ourselves right now. That's the show tonight. I am your host, Jimmy Church, on the Game Changer and UnX Networks, Raise Hobbs. And tonight, Maureen St. Germain is with us. Tomorrow night, Richard Dolan. Thursday night is another Fader night with open lines all night long. It's going to be a great show tonight. Stay right there. I'll be right back after this short break with our guest, Maureen St. Germain. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. This is Fade to Black. Stay with us.
This is Nicole Church, daughter of you-know-who, and you're listening to Fade to Black on JimmyChurchRadio.com and the Game Changer Network.
You're listening to Jimmy Church and Fade to Black on the X.
You're listening to Jimmy Church, Fade to Black.
Fade to Black will now pause for alien identification.
The station that talks the net.
Introducing the Game Changer blend from River Moon Coffee that delivers a customized blend made specifically for the Fadernauts. If the game is rigged, change the game. It's a bolder cup with some bite. Game Changer is the coffee of choice for those that prefer an organic dark roast that is slightly lighter and milder, but it's still dark. With wild notes of pecans and chocolate, with a rich, balanced, full-bodied cup that is roasted to perfection for a great coffee to start your day, as an after-dinner coffee or anywhere in between. Artisan, small batch roasted to perfection. USDA certified organic, all River Moon coffee is freshly roasted and packaged in the USA. Just go to rivermooncoffee.com or click on the banners over on our site and use the promo code F2BBLEND for 15% off of your order today. rivermooncoffee.com.
This is the only way forward.
This is Fade to Black. Make contact.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and you can get our podcast for just $2 per month. All you have to do is click on the podcast banner over at jimmychurchradio.com.
Hi, folks. It's troubling times, and fear is pushing emotions, which in turn pushes health the wrong direction. Do you ever get an ache because life is uneasy? Try Life Change Tea at getthetea.com. Life Change Tea works on your digestive tract, helping to move food through quicker and comfortably so your health is spot on. Life Change Tea may not help with world issues, but it will help with your digestive issues. A glass a day helps keep the intruders away. So, change your life today. Log on to getthetea.com. That's getthetea.com. If your health game is off, get on by ordering Life Change Tea. Getthetea.com. And while you're on our site, look around at the great non-GMO organic supplements. And if you're a sales shopper, go to our specials page and see what's for you. I've been drinking the tea for 12 years, and I'm sure glad for its health benefits. Again, that's getthetea.com. Getthetea.com. The tea that makes you go.
Do you have an interest in the paranormal? Then you'll love the unxnetwork.com. The X is your streaming audio and video for everything supernatural, strange, and mysterious, like UFOs, Bigfoot, ghosts, and so much more. From hosts like Jimmy Church, Whitley Strieber, Micah Hanks, and Christina Gomez. Visit the unxnetwork.com show page for a complete list of all the paranormal programs you'll find on the X. Be sure to follow us on Twitter for updates at KUNXDB. Follow our Facebook group, UNX Network. Find the podcast on Spotify, iHeart, Audible, and Apple Podcast. It's time. It's new. It's the X.
9 out of 10 geneticists agree.
Fade to Black is not your father's radio show on the Game Changer Radio Network.
Hi, this is Rob Reiner from Anvil, and you're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com.
What's up? I'm Chris. What up? This is Kyle Massey, and you're listening to Jimmy Church Radio.
All right, welcome back. Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, Maureen St. Germain joins us for a night of elevating who you are. Tomorrow night, Richard Dolan returns, and then Thursday night's another Fader night with open lines all night long. And here's the deal. Maureen is the founder of the Akashic Records International, ARI, and Transformational Enterprises, Inc., TEI. She has, that's why her Twitter is TEI, and now you know. She has over 30 years of research and practical experience in the area of mystical and sacred traditions. It has a clear channel from source and of your own guides. Maureen is continuously researching and developing and introducing new methods that will help you connect with your own wisdom channel. She has taught in over 14 countries, including Japan, Taiwan, China, Australia, Bulgaria, Egypt, Turkey, England, Scotland, Canada, Mexico, and the United States. She has been featured in many magazines, trade publications, and national radio, including Fade to Black and Coast to Coast. Her books and CDs have been published into Chinese, Russian, and Italian. And her website, which is over at jimmychurchradio.com and in social media, is stgermainmysteryschool.com. And her two latest books, which I have right here, I've been showing you all week, are right here. We'll discuss these two as well. And available, you can go to her website and, of course, Amazon and in bookstores and all of that fun stuff. I would like to welcome back the one and only Maureen St. Germain. Maureen, how you doing?
I'm doing awesome. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, thank you, Maureen. And, I can't believe this. It's been a crazy couple of years. You haven't been on with this for a year. What have you been up to?
Well, for one thing, I moved from my home base in New York City to Arizona, and I'm now just outside of Sedona.
And how that's it's a pretty spiritual place, isn't it?
It really is. You know, it's an interesting thing because I was given a message by one of the people who had attended my classes, and she was told to give me a sum of money, kind of like enough to buy a nice car, but not enough to do anything substantial. But it got my attention, and she was told to tell me to start a school in Arizona. So here I am.
And is it now? I'm going to be out there. I'm going to see you. I'll be out there next weekend on the 18th. You're going to be speaking. We're going to be hanging out. Suzanne Ross has got her conference going on there in Sedona. But is it everything that everybody talks about? The magic, the majesty, and things.
It really is. There's something about being in the energy of the Red Rocks that allows you to come home to who you really are. And so there's a peacefulness that you find within yourself. And I will tell you, when people first move here, a lot of times they have to go away every weekend till they adjust. It's pretty substantial, the change that you will feel about yourself and about the people around you.
Now, what about the vibe? Help me understand something, because I'm experiencing this a little bit myself where I'm at. And I spent many months last year up in Northern California, outside of Los Angeles, away from, the monkey muck. They're crazy. And are you, while you're in Sedona, how is the pressure the rest of the world? Do you feel that there? And how do you deal with that?
I think the mindset is focused on inner awareness and a sense of social responsibility. So you basically take that to every place you go. Take it to the bank, take it to the bookstore, take it to the grocery store. And so there's a level of interaction that goes deep really fast. For example, I was exploring a space that I wanted to rent to put on an event. And within 2 minutes of talking to the place, the woman who was responsible for it said to me, "Could you come and talk to my group?" She didn't know me. She didn't know anything about me, but she tapped into my energy and decided I need to have this woman come. So she, that's how it worked. I was very amazed.
Last week, and this was a tangible. I love using the word tangible because so many things are intangible. But last week, when the mandates were lifted here in Southern California, and I walked into a supermarket to do some shopping, I got my mask on, and I looked around and nobody's wearing masks, and the workers, right, the employees. And I said, "What's up?" It's Cindy, one of the cashiers, who I know, but I've never seen her face, right? I've only seen her eyes, right? And I said, "What happened?" She goes, "They lifted an hour ago," and she's smiling. And I said, "You have a smile?" She goes, "I do." And but what I noticed, and this is the tangible thing, is that everybody was smiling, including myself. I literally put my arms in the air and said praise, right?
That's awesome.
But there's a tangible change, I think, that happened.
Yeah, it is quite remarkable. Of course, in Arizona, the mandate hasn't been as strict here as it was in New York, where I came from, or where you've been. So, it feels good to not have to don your mask everywhere you go when you move like that. But I think that something bigger here, in that being in the space of the metal that's in the rocks does something for your body, and it allows your body to relax deeper. And when you relax deeper, then your own tension goes down,
right?
No matter what your belief system, no matter what you're doing. And so the level of tension isn't as great.
Yeah, and I guess that is part of my point. Being isolated up in Northern California now, here where I'm at, I'm in a small town in the Mojave Desert, where you don't have the tension of the city, right? And so there is a little bit of isolation, but the other part is I can feel that the veil of tension. Right, of tension has been lifted, and everybody feels that. I really believe that the pressure is starting to be removed, and now this is an opportunity for everybody to recognize what we went through in the last 2 years, and how we can be of service to others right now and continue that.
I agree. We're very fortunate to be at this place where we can unhook from some of that drama.
And why do you, and I want to get into this fairly deeply tonight, why did we fall so quickly into the darkness 2 years ago, where we just, it just seemed like we didn't put up much of a fight?
I've often wondered about that, but part of it, I think, is the mainstream media went on board, repeating the narrative, and we believed what they told us. Why wouldn't we? Except, we now suspect they had other agendas, but that's another matter.
Yeah, certainly. And the other part of this is we all knew it wasn't going to last forever. Well, most of us thought that. Some of us didn't, but that it would end eventually. And when things start to change for the better, we have to be ready, don't we? We can't be unprepared. We have to be ready to move forward as individuals and as families.
Well, that's a really good point. And I think the big thing that we all gained is more time for ourselves.
Right.
I was on the road all the time, spending, 80% of my time traveling to, one place or another. And I basically worked for my microphone for 2 years. So I had a lot more time. And so even I felt not as stressed as I was perhaps when I was traveling. And I think everybody, in spite of the lack of revenue or the lack of social contact, gained the ability to unhook from all the have to stuff that we decided we needed to do. And now that we're, opening back up, we get to rethink that. And, that's interesting that you mentioned this because, one of the things I tell people constantly is stop saying I have to. Anything, because the minute you do that, you give your power away. And when you give your power away, that means there's less for you. So I choose to pick up the kids on time because they like it when I show up early. Or I promised my boss I'd get this report done and I got to go. I want to get this done, in a timely fashion. And a lot of times people just say, I have to do the report. I have to pick up the kids. I have to meet my spouse. So this is a wonderful time to rethink, what do you say I have to? What do you need to say I have to? I suppose you might say I have to go to the loo, but that's about the only thing I can think of.
And how? Let's start right there. How do we start that process? How do we change the mindset? What are the basics?
I like to ask people to think about the words they're using, because when we think about the words we use, we can consciously choose them differently. And so this have to business is a big deal. And then there's other words that lock us down into polarity. So, instead of, this is the right way or this is the wrong way, you could say, this is my preference. This food is bad. Well, I didn't like this food. It wasn't for me. So you start there and you keep working your way outward. I got to a point in my inner awareness that I became very clear that saying I'm sorry isn't necessary either. And that's a real, what will I say? A little bit controversial, and a lot of people don't get it. But the reason I'm sorry is no longer appropriate, especially among adults who know and love each other, is it makes one person better. When I make you say, I'm sorry because you were late meeting me for lunch, it means I think I'm better because I was on time.
That's deep. That's real deep, actually.
And when my kids were little, I told them to say, are you okay? So intuitively, I was doing this without realizing it. I never really pushed the I'm sorry agenda. To me, that's so demeaning to little kids. Have you ever seen a little kid refuse to say I'm sorry?
Yes.
It happens everywhere.
Nobody likes to say it. Nobody. I just saw an episode of a TV show. I think it's called Good Girls. And it's a pretty crazy show. But anyway, it's a comedy. But there was this scene where this employee had to apologize to a customer at a restaurant. She's a server. She had to apologize, and she did not want to do it. That's what the episode was about. And here we are talking about it right now. And she just couldn't.
That's very cool.
Couldn't do it.
It's so amazing to me because we've created a culture that makes you conform. And at the same time, we celebrate uniqueness. So why are we making everybody conform with this I'm sorry business? And people will say, well, it makes people feel better. Well, so does are you all right?
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be I'm sorry. And the other thing is, I hate to say it, but most of the time people aren't sorry.
No, yeah, the apology's an obligation.
Right, they're insincere. So
right.
And that leads me to another element of this body of knowledge that's been coming through me, and that is, in order to be authentic, we have to be sincere. And if we can't say I'm sorry with sincerity, I mean truly mean it, then why are we doing it? Because the insincerity, that incongruity, tells our mind that there's a disconnect between what we know and what we say, or what we believe and what we act. And that disconnect causes us to tell the universe there's not enough. And when we tell the universe that there's not enough, we get all kinds of mirrors of that.
Right. And that reminds me of the fear of the cancel culture. Right? Now it's one thing to have a celebrity get canceled or a corporation get canceled, and we see this happening daily. Right now, I mean, canceling is our foreign policy at the moment, right? Okay, so but there's that. But you also don't want to get canceled by your friends, right? You don't want to. So suddenly, what do? Are you apologetic now, where you're in fear of getting canceled out of social media and losing, getting blocked, or your friends list shrinking? You know what I mean? Where now this is a part of our everyday life, where before it was isolated to foreign governments and corporations and celebrities.
Yeah, but think about this. The people who apologize still get canceled.
How did we get here? Maureen, how did we get here?
Apologizing, you would think, I'm thinking of, there was this basketball player in LA, and you probably know who I'm talking about. And his wife was living in Chicago, and they lived in Chicago, but he was playing for the Lakers, I guess. And he didn't do anything, but his wife wrote something in her native Croatian language, and somebody objected to it and made a big stink over it. And it got back to his employer, and the employer made him apologize for her actions. And they weren't even in the same town when this went down. And to make matters worse, he got fired anyway. And he was like one of their star players.
How did we get here? I remember probably 4 or 5 years ago, I started making comments about the way that social media was making me feel. Right? It was just making me feel strange. And I started talking about it on the air and at public events and things, and how to use discernment and how to navigate social media and certain ethics and etiquette there, so we don't spread this disease, and I saw all of this coming, and nobody was listening, and the world just went right along with it, went right along for the ride.
Well, it's very interesting to me, because I saw a post you wrote that said, and I'm not on Facebook very much because I have somebody who does my posts for me, but I saw a post you wrote that said, we're not going there. We're not going to talk about this. And so just get over it. And I thought to myself, that's right on. You rock. And I remember thinking, I'm sure I liked the post, but I remember thinking that's probably the beginning of when you were observing this. Well, you and I might call it unfair bias that causes people to create if you don't believe what I believe, I'm going to hate you. And I don't know where that came from. And I have my own ideas about why it's there. But the benefit is that it gives us all a wake-up call and say, wait a minute. If I do it over here, then it's going to happen over here on me. And that's basically what you were doing. You were calling it out, saying, we're not on my show, not on my watch.
Right. And I'm not a genius or anything. And I don't even want to project that kind of image like I'm smart and I can see what's going on. I'm just talking about the way that I felt personally, right? The way that it was affecting me. And if it's affecting me where I could, like physically feel incorrect, right? Ill might be the right word. Then everybody's got to be feeling that way, right? And
well, you have your hand or your heart on the pulse of your community and of the community in general. So as part of the visual that you hold for awareness of what's going on in the world, I think that you're more likely to feel it than a lot of people. I think sometimes I'm insulated because I surround myself with like-minded people and I don't encounter the disagreement that a lot of people do. And then I talk to my kids and I encounter, now I don't get disapproval, but I get, views that I just don't even hold. And it's surprising to me. And fortunately, the love and respect overrides all of it, so it's okay. But what if you didn't have the love and respect? Then you'd be encountering, horrible stuff. I've seen it myself. I've seen it in, when we were in New York, I saw stuff happen and I couldn't wrap my brain around it, where people were rude to others because of their beliefs.
Right. And do you feel, before we get to the break, I want to set up what we're going to be talking about when we come back. But do you feel that whatever you want to label the younger generations, Gen Z, and I guess there's an X, maybe, well, it's XYZ. Is there a Gen Y? And even millennials, where they are in touch with themselves, probably more so than our generations, and they get that, but they also have so many relationships that are based in the digital world, right? So we've got a combination of both things, and they have very bright things to say about things.
Yes, that's very true. And your observation about so many relationships in the digital world it's quite remarkable. And it is considerably different than what we are accustomed to or familiar with. But it is funny. I'll close with this section by saying that a close friend of mine said to me about 10 years ago, nobody over the age of 30 uses text. And I laughed for 10 minutes. Because 10 years ago, text was perhaps not the most common thing, but I was certainly using it. And I figured that there were a lot of people like me who were, because it's so much more efficient than getting on the phone. But then you lack that personal touch.
Right. I still love phone calls. I embrace digital technology as far as I will allow it to go. But man, I love a phone call, and I love a lunch. And one of the things, and I talk about this so often, Maureen, but it needs to be stressed. For 10 years now, 3 hours a night, 4 nights a week, I just talk to somebody, right? You and I are just going to sit here and talk. And how many freakouts would there be if our government said, okay, everybody, 3 hours a day, you got to put down your cell phones. You have to talk to somebody, right? They would lose their minds, right? And
that's very interesting.
Yeah, I have changed. I am able to literally have a conversation for 3 hours with a friend with no interruptions. And it's great.
It's totally awesome. And it's really good advice to put your cell phone in another room when you go to bed and give yourself some time.
No. Let's not push things. Let's not push things. I sleep with my cell phone in bed. But sitting down to dinner, and I would, turn to my daughters and go, okay, put your cell phones down. What? Right? Can we just eat and talk? And it's a world that they live in now. Well, let's take our break. And when we come back, Maureen, about 4 or 5 years ago, I had a conversation with somebody, private, and this person turned to me and said, if the world doesn't elevate to 5D this year, I'm out. Right? I'm out. I've invested too much time into this. And you were supposed to elevate. Everybody was supposed to elevate. Yeah, hold up the book. There it is, Waking Up in 5D, one of my favorite books right there. And it was a crazy conversation, one that I didn't have answers for. So let's talk about that when we come back. This is Fade to Black. Our guest tonight, the one and only Maureen St. Germain. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. This is Fade to Black on the UnX and Game Changer networks. More with Maureen after this short break. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. This is Fade to Black. Stay with us.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network.
Your 1 million gigawatt paranormal powerhouse, KUNX-DB, the X.
This is Billy Carson with ForbiddenKnowledge.tv. Forbidden Knowledge TV has just reached its 1-year anniversary. That's right, 1 year. And as a show of appreciation, we are giving all new subscribers a free 30-day trial of ForbiddenKnowledge.tv. That's 30 days to binge watch thousands of movies, documentaries, conferences, workshops, lectures, yoga classes, meditation courses, and so much more. So log on to ForbiddenKnowledge.tv from your computer or mobile device, or get the Forbidden Knowledge TV app on Apple TV, Roku, Amazon, iTunes, or Google Play today, and use coupon code 30daysfree. That's coupon code 30 days free on ForbiddenKnowledge.tv today.
Because you never got that pony you always wanted. Damn it. Jimmy Church and Fade to Black on the Game Changer Network.
Listen, I know, and you know, that you've always wanted your first crystal skull. Or maybe you're a collector just like me, but you just don't know where to go to find the real thing. Then I met Carolyn Ford over at EinsteinTheCrystalSkull.com. Carolyn is the guardian of Einstein, one of the most respected ancient crystal skulls in the world. All of her unique skulls have been imprinted sitting with Einstein in his sacred lodge and are carved from the finest gemstone and materials. Imprinting is the process of receiving the ancient wisdom from the master skull or master computer. Einstein, the ancient crystal skull. To see Carolyn's current collection of crystal skulls, just visit her store at EinsteinTheCrystalSkull.com or click on the banner over on our site. Don't forget to use the promo code Jimmy at checkout to receive 10% off of your order today. That's promo code Jimmy. Finding your first or next crystal skull is easy. Just visit EinsteinTheCrystalSkull.com.
Hi, Race Hobbs with the X. Obviously, if you're listening to this, you have an interest in unexplained phenomena like ghosts, Bigfoot, and UFOs. And by now, you know that we have our own X blog, the UnX newsletter, and the UnX magazine quarterly. But most of you don't know that we have started our very own paranormal conference. And this year, for safety, this 2-day XCon will be virtual, so you can attend from the comfort of your home. XCon presenters include Whitley Strieber, Micah Hank, Banks, Margie Kay and Preston Dennett, Lisa Martin and Wayne Lawrence, Lee Spiegel, Debbie Zagelmeyer, Dan Terry, Kate Grabowski, and Ray Hernandez. There will also be a live paranormal investigation by the Riverside, Iowa Paranormal Team. So come hang out with us in the safety of home as we set out to explain the unexplained Friday, May 13th and Saturday the 14th, 2022. And tickets are on sale now. Go to unxnetwork.com. That's unxnetwork.com.
Hello, I'm Katie, and you're listening to my main man, Jimmy Church, on jimmychurchradio.com.
Hi, this is Ray Hobbs here, repping the planet, and you're listening to my good friend, Jimmy Church. Fade to Black.
This is Toby Kebbell. You're listening to jimmychurchradio.com. Don't hurt me, Jimmy. I'm only little.
Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier. And this is Ari Gold. We're the Honey Brothers.
Yes.
We're of the Honey Brothers. Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier.
And I'm Ari Gold.
We're the Honey Brothers.
And you're listening to Jimmy Church.
The Revolution.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and you can become an official Fadernaut by just going to our membership section at jimmychurchradio.com.
Hello, this is Serena Wright Taylor from Conscious Life Expo, and you're listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church, who holds the Lucky Pony record for the best astrological chart since 1963. True story.
This is Micah Hanks of the Gralien Report, and you're listening to Jimmy Church on Fade to Black.
Welcome back. Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, Maureen St. Germain. Tonight, we're going to elevate. We're going to do all of this together. She's the best. Let me tell you something about Maureen. She walks down the hall, and there's this bright ray of sunshine that is right up. Do you realize how much you glow?
I have been told this, but actually, I didn't know it until I was told it.
You glow. You glow. You glow. You've got it. You've got it. This comment that I didn't have a response to at the time, Maureen, if the world doesn't elevate this year, I'm out. 5D. I've invested all of this time, and I've listened in the books, and you haven't elevated, church. So I don't know if I have. You would know it. And here's the thing. You and I have talked a lot over the years, but the real general knowledge, the foundation, especially at that time, I lacked, and I didn't have a way to respond. But my response to this person was, "Why are you so angry? If you're 5D, if you're 5D, where's this anger coming from?"
3D.
Yeah, 3D, right? So
here's the thing that the first thing that people assume that's actually incorrect, and that is, it's not like getting a driver's license that when you go 5D, you're there forever. It's more like a sine wave, or it's like borrowing a car. You always have to ask each time. There's never an assurance that you're going to land in 5D, which is one of the reasons why I say to people, when I go to bed at night, I announce I'm waking up in 5D. That's just my MO. And everybody can do that,
Well, let me rudely interrupt Maureen St. Germain. And let's start with some basics for the audience that may not know actually what we're talking about. Let's start with the definition of 5D. We'll go back to 3D, but what is 5D?
Okay, 5D is the equivalent to what our traditional churches have taught us as heaven. That's an easy way to look at it. We are able to be loving towards each other. We get to connect with each other when we need to. We find our interactions are positive and nurturing and supportive. I don't remember the name of the movie with Robin Williams, where his wife was in purgatory of some sort that she had made herself.
What Dreams May Come.
I thought it was What Dreams May Come, but I wasn't sure. So that is a perfect example that we create our own misery or our own hell. And what 5D is where we are so plugged in to our divinity, to our divine self, that the possibility of choosing the not God choice doesn't occur to us. And what do I mean by the not God choice? Well, a lot of people don't realize because we've been so indoctrinated, but free will means we're allowed to make mistakes. We're allowed to screw up and we're allowed to do bad stuff. And the idea of this so-called game that we've been in is to discover what will work and what won't, and to encounter experiences that would broaden the database. Because if you're already everything, how can you increase or learn or know? And I believe that Source found a way to allow the not God choice in this zone of creation where we get to choose. And as we become more aware, like if I say something that hurts my girlfriend's feelings and I notice how much it hurts her, I will think twice before I do that again, because I've learned from observing, I've learned from the experience. So where I'm going with this is in 5D, I'm so plugged in that I already know I can't say X because it might hurt her feelings. Does that make sense?
It does. It does. And then that view, that life view, then has to expand out into everything around you.
Exactly. And so we're all, we talk about being plugged into the earth or, being aware of nature or understanding our pets and things like that. But in truth, when we're aware, we notice. So, for example, you might have a close friend and you get on the phone with them and you can tell by the sound of their voice that they're upset or they're depressed. You can tell.
Right.
And lots of people can tell, not just you, not just me. So this sensitivity is going to continue to grow as we become more fifth dimensional. Now, by now, I'm sure somebody's saying, well, whatever happened to fourth dimension?
Right. Yeah, this is where we do go backwards. And I don't see a whole lot of reference guides about 4D. Right? It's like it's skipped over. I hear a lot about 3D, right?
Okay.
When it comes to 4D, that's the big mystery. Yes.
You heard my metaphor for 5D. It's like what everyone else calls heaven. Fourth dimension is like Grand Central. It's the place you go to get somewhere else. Grand Central Station is not a place you want to spend the night. Just like an airport, it's not a place you want to spend the night.
No.
It's the place you go to that has polarity, and it is the place where your emotions are higher, which is why so many people who go through difficult emotional stuff come out the other side more spiritual, because they use that push through that nexus to take them even higher. There's also people who go through difficulty and come down lower. And that's because the fourth dimension is a place of polarity. And that's why we get this experience of big emotion having us either go down, 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 or way up.
Is the world in 4D right now then? Right now, like today.
No, we're at about 3.9. This is so very interesting. You know that I do the math thing quite a bit.
Yes.
With the sacred geometry and the Merkaba. So I can tell you that I had a guy who was a remote viewer in one of my classes, and I was explaining that there's nothing in a 3.0, let's say, the world at 3D. And I explain this because the math works out to be slightly above the halfway position. And he stood up in this class and said, she's right. I've been there. There's nothing going on there. It was hilarious to me because now, I don't know if you know this, but I taught a class on remote viewing last week. Actually, it was a 4-part series we did in February with Tom Dongo.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Welcome to Sedona. Welcome to Sedona. Hanging out with Tom Dongo. And the reason why I say that, the world in general would be in a 4D spot right now, because we do have choices. We can go backwards, right? We can go back down. It's right in front of us. Or we can go in the other direction really quickly. And that's why I'm suggesting that maybe we are like in this 4D simulation, if you will.
I think when we're really emotional about anything, we've slid into 4th dimension. And that moves us to either elevate or, go down.
So you have a turnstile in front of you, right? You've got a ticket in your hand, and that is what 4D is. Very interesting. Now let's go backwards one more step and talk about 3D. What is 3D?
3D is the polarity matrix where we are learning how to manage, I'll use the word temptation, and choose otherwise. And when we're not doing what we came here to do, we often get ourselves stuck in a jag, I want to go home, that energy.
Mm-hmm.
And so we want to escape and go to heaven. And the answer is we got to make heaven right here.
So 3D, is there a 2D? Is there there is. Okay. And 2D would be what? Is that the world that has no idea about anything? Right. And they're in a 2D existence?
Well, this goes back to a crop circle that I saw that was done in, I think, 71. And they had all the dimension. They called this crop circle the 4th dimension, but I see all of them all the way up to 5th in it. Anyway, 2D is like, you remember seeing movies where the Queen of Hearts was able to walk? It was like a Disney film or something.
Right.
That's 2D. So it's 2-dimensional. So it has height and width, but no depth. So it's a place where 2 points connect. So it's the beginning of relationship.
Yeah, I was definitely 2D once. I had zero depth. I had zero depth.
You could say that about a lot of people. But then, of course, we'd be like them because we'd be criticizing.
Yeah, right. Okay, perfect point. How do we avoid that? Like this person who said to me, "Church, you're not 5D." Right? Is that criticizing? Is that being judgmental? And how do we avoid that?
Well, if somebody said that to me, I'd probably laugh, because when you're in 5D, everything's funny. So you don't take offense. So maybe you weren't 5D, because if you took offense, now I don't know if you did or not, but I'm playing here. If you took offense, then you weren't 5D. But if somebody says that to you, I tell people the way to know you're in 5D is you act like a dumb blonde. Everything is a compliment. And I say that about myself because I'm a blonde. I'm not saying that about everybody else, that they have to be, blonde. But the joke is, no matter what you say, they say, thank you. That's a nice compliment. So if someone says, you're not 5D, I would laugh. And then I might say, you're on to me. And then they would laugh, because they would see the joy in being able to be played with in a joyful way, because in 5D, nobody's wrong. Everybody's right. It's just a different vantage point.
That would be heaven. Would that get boring? Would that get boring?
It won't get boring, because you still have variety. It's like colors. What's the bad color? There are none.
Can we argue in 5D?
Oh, yeah, but it's not called arguing. It's called discussion.
So we can debate.
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
I think we're doing that now.
I think we're doing that right now. And why is it that it seems that we've lost the ability to laugh, right? That everything is serious now. And most conversations happen in a social media thread where you can't hear somebody's voice.
You're not going to like this answer, but it is my opinion that the reason people won't laugh or are afraid to laugh is because they're afraid to be wrong. And when you're afraid to be wrong, you're unwilling to laugh at yourself or laugh at the scenario or look at the situation with its ludicrousness and decide, it's hopeless in an immediate sense. We can't do something about it right this second, so we need to laugh and find the joy there. Our ability to see our mistakes and when they're called out by someone else and to say, and escalate it rather than go into defensive posture, because defensive posture proves that you're afraid that person might be right. But when you agree with them, there's a statement in the Bible, agree with thine adversary quickly. So, if my trainer said something to me, I said, this is happening. And I said, well, that's because I have a big butt. And he just looked at me and I thought he wasn't expecting me to say that, to take responsibility for why I couldn't do something that he wanted me to do. So I think when we can love ourselves enough to not be scared or intimidated by another's opinion, but to be intrigued by their opinion, to be curious about their opinion.
Isn't that how it's supposed to be? Isn't that something that I feel that we were raised on that value, right? That everybody is different, and it's okay to be different, and it's okay to have different ideas and opinions because that's how we discuss things and move forward because we learn from each other. Right?
Exactly. Well, I think that there has been an inordinate amount of shushing the cancel culture for fear that somebody will figure out the emperor has no clothes.
Mm-hmm.
So the cause for alarm is that those people who are really demanding that you not talk about this or not talk about that are very likely trying to hide the reality that you might be right. Because if they know you're wrong and you bring it out, everybody's going to say, oh, that's silly. That doesn't add up. But if you are right and they can't defend that original position they were holding, they need to silence you. So it's really kind of a political move.
Well, and the other statement that was made to me 5 years ago from this individual, who I haven't seen, by the way, in 5 years, said that the world is supposed to automatically elevate to 5D, that this was supposed to happen, and that whether you understood what 5D was or not. Is there any truth to that kind of statement?
I think there's a lot of truth in it, and I would agree with your friend. What's interesting is part of what has happened is our ascension path, our moving into fifth dimension, has been hijacked. And there's lots of energies behind that go back for millennium. And we're getting to the place where we got to make some big decisions. One of the things I wrote in the book on opening the Akashic Records is the reason anybody can open the records is because a dispensation was granted, because we're at the end of an age, we're at the end of the Kali Yuga, and we need to make that leap to the next level up. And in order to do so, we need some help. And that help comes in the form of being able to access the records. Anybody can do it. And it's kind of like taking, your calculator into your chemistry exam, or your tables into your math exam, open book test. And so that's what it's like to be able to open the Akashic Records. So getting back to what you're saying, yeah, that is what was supposed to happen. But there was interference. There's no question about it. There was interference. It's a little bit like, when you're raising a family, you want to live in a nice neighborhood so that your kids don't hang out with the rough kids and get bad habits or do things that they're not supposed to do. So basically, we all got thrown into a rough neighborhood and picked up some bad habits.
Is there a force, not necessarily a group of people, but it could be that too, but is there a force like in the universe that is always pushing back on this, and that we do have it? Nothing comes easy, right? That we actually do have to work at it, and if we don't work at it, that thing is going to take us over.
I think that's an oversimplification. I would say that there are and were energies, beings of great magnitude that influenced many situations and people to cause certain things to happen. But that energy, that force, is being eliminated, expunged, if you will. And because of that,
right,
we have a wonderful moving forward that's happening, and it will continue to happen. So we have much to look forward to. We've actually been through the roughest. I think we're going to be through.
Yeah, I see that. And I guess my point is, Maureen, that if we relax, as individuals, and you take your foot off the gas, then you will be enveloped with negativity. That it's up to you. Nothing is free. You are paddling upstream all the time. And
I don't think so.
Really?
I hear what you say, but I don't agree. And the reason I don't agree is because I get to choose every day how I'm going to experience my day.
Mm-hmm.
So while it is true, I get to choose every day, but my choices, my conscious choice, even the announcement that I'm waking up in 5D, I'm having a day of heaven on earth, those statements put me in a zone that makes it easy for me to have wonderful, powerful experiences that allow me to totally maximize my life. And we all have those opportunities, and we all have those opportunities to learn and grow. I'd like to share a story with you, because you will really relate to this. I was coming back from China, and my husband Vito wanted to, we had agreed we were going to go to the Los Angeles LACMA for a concert that a friend of mine was going to be in. And we love museums. I can't get enough of a museum. And so even though it was the day I was returning, I was totally fine with doing this. But I thought I was going to get to sleep in, have a nice leisurely breakfast, and then head up to LA from San Diego, which is a couple of hour drive, depending upon the time of day. Vito comes up with this brainstorm that we should go to the Broad Museum because it just opened and we'll get in there. And I remember, going on this baby rant about, well, that's a terrible idea. How do you think I'm going to feel traveling 13 hours on a plane, blah, blah, blah. And then I finished with, I'll check in with my higher self. Now, this is a technique that I teach. It's in all of my books. It's so important. And my higher self said, do it. So I said, okay, I'm in. So we got up early, had breakfast in the car, the whole deal to get there. Standing in line, Vito runs off to get coffee. I'm standing there by myself, and this woman comes up to my line and says, I've got 2 extra tickets for early entry. Does anybody want them? Nobody said anything. I'm looking at all the people behind me. And so finally I said, I'd like them. And she said, no, I want them for 2 people. And of course I said, well, I am 2 people. I've just got abandoned here. So, so as I'm walking back to go stand in line with her family, my guides come in and say, you need to talk to these people. So I did. And it was pleasant for a few moments. And then the woman says, I need to go up front and talk to some people. You take my ticket because if we get separated, you're going to need it. And I said, okay. And I looked at the name on the ticket, and it was a long German name that I recognized, an unusual name. So I said it out loud and said, I used to know a family with that name, but they're from Ohio. And the man looked at me and said, well, I'm from Ohio. We're from Ohio. And the older woman, his mother, standing there with him, looked at me and said, are you Maureen?
Shut up.
It gets better. This woman, Pat, was my mother's best friend when I was a teenager.
Wow.
She said to me as we, kept running into each other through the museum, when do you think was the last time I saw you? And I said, at my first wedding 40 years ago. 6 months later, I'm looking for another thing that happened is I said to him, I have this apartment in New York that I don't use very much. If you ever need to go to New York, you're welcome to it. And he said, actually, that would be awesome because we have 2 daughters in school in New York. And they did use the place. And a few months after that, I asked him if either of his daughters would be interested in working for me because I had an opening for a part-time assistant. His daughter was the best assistant I ever had. And when she left, she turned me on to her friend, who also turned out to be equally awesome. And the pièce de résistance is I sent a picture to my mom through my sister, who showed her a picture on her phone. My mother was 94 at the time. And she said, Maureen, Pat and your dad were first cousins.
What?
How does that?
Yeah. How does that happen? I mean, how does that happen? And as we head to the break, which
a day of heaven on earth. Yeah. I ask for a day of heaven on earth.
And it all started at a line for tickets at an art museum. And by the way, as we head to the break, there is one person that glows more than you.
Who is that?
Vito. I'm putting that out there right now. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, Maureen St. Germain. Tonight, we're talking about It's Time to Elevate. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. This is Fade to Black. Stay with us. We'll be right back after this short break.
Way out here, we listen to Jimmy Church.
You're listening to Fade to Black.
You're listening to Jimmy Church and Fade to Black on the X.
¿Qué tal, mis amigos? Yo soy Mario Carson, el tiburón, y los invito para que escuchen a mi buen amigo Jimmy Church Radio. ¡Claro que sí!
This is Jimmy Church. Jason Martell's book, Knowledge Apocalypse 10-Year Anniversary Edition, is now available. Most ancient cultures speak of a time when their gods visited them. They never say their gods came from across the ocean or from the mountains. They always came down from the skies. Was ancient man visited by gods or extraterrestrials? We have not been told the full truth about our human past. There was a time when all the ancient cultures lived amongst beings they considered their gods. The search for truth leads us down the path of learning where the ETs might come from and why they are here. To understand some of these advanced topics and learn the truth about human origins, buy the new book from Jason Martell, Knowledge Apocalypse, now in its 10-year anniversary edition, available on Amazon.com by clicking on the banners over on our site, or simply visit jasonmartell.com. That's jasonmartell.com. Do you want to be an official Fade or Not? Of course you do. This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black. Just go to our membership section at jimmychurchradio.com. Fade or Nots. When you think about the future of our country and where we're headed, do you wonder about the food supply? I do. Disruptions in the food supply chain could be disastrous, and they usually occur with little warning. That's why the smartest thing you can do today is to stockpile emergency food, water, and other essentials. I personally recommend My Patriot Supply. They're the nation's largest emergency preparedness company, serving millions of customers for more than a decade. In fact, they're the only source my family trusts for our preparedness plan. You should too. Right now, save 20% off a full 4-week supply of delicious meals that provide 2,000 calories a day. Saving 20% helps too, doesn't it? Especially now. So go to preparewithjimmy.com and get ready. That's preparewithjimmy.com. There's no time to lose. Do it now.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7, with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
You listen to us, and we listen to you. And so does the CIA.
You are listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Oi, oi, I'm Reese Evans. You're listening to Jimmy Church. This is Revolution. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution is on radio. Ciao.
Welcome back, Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, Maureen St. Germain is with us. It's time to elevate. Tomorrow night, Richard Dolan returns. We're going to be talking about our world on edge. And, of course, Thursday night is another Fader night with open lines all night long. Tonight, it's all about Maureen St. Germain. Now, Maureen, the application, I want to talk a little bit about Beyond the Flower of Life, and specifically how we can apply the Merkaba and sacred geometry to our own spiritual transitions and things that we are going through. And my first thing to even suggest is it sounds complicated.
I appreciate that. You know, different people have interests in different things, and I have always had a love of numbers and the science behind these things. The way I teach, I have been told by numerous people, including PhDs who have degrees in math and science, that they get it, and that if they had seen or heard information about sacred geometry or manifestation the way I teach it, they would have gotten it the first time. In Beyond the Flower of Life, I spent a lot of time explaining about different kinds of meditation and different tools that can be used on any meditation. And then, of course, I get into a lot of the follow-up that happens within the Merkaba. The thing about the Merkaba is it is a tool that people can activate and turn on. Some people can do it spontaneously. Some people take the long road and go through a process of learning the 17 breath meditation. The most important thing, though, is to recognize that it's possible and claim it. Maybe you don't need to learn it the long way. Some people like to know the detail, and so they get into it. They go down that rabbit hole. It's not that complicated, though. Once you kind of get your arms around it, it's not that complicated. When you look at learning how to drive, that's a little complicated, but you don't think anything of it when you do it for a while. So from my vantage point, I think that the tools that we use to access our mastery, well, let me back up a step and say that the Merkaba is a way to be an ascended master you without having earned it. So it's like putting on the Superman uniform or the Wonder Woman uniform and having all those skills at your fingertips and learning how to use them. Because when you activate your energetic fields around you, you're powered up.
So you don't have to go to Tibet for 10 years.
No. I mean, I'm going to joke around and say, why do you think I glow? It's the fact that you can just purposefully turn it on, purposefully claiming it, and everything else shifts.
Okay, so ultimately, what are we talking about here? What are the basic processes that we're talking about? Because I know that some are listening right now and are a little confused as to what we're talking about, because we know. You say Merkaba, I say Merkaba. We know what the image is of that, but what are we actually talking about?
The process of turning on your light body or your Merkaba is taught in lots of different kinds of classes. That development is evolved enough that many people can spontaneously turn it on. It is an energetic field built around your body. In other words, we have all the platonic solids. We have the tetrahedron. We have the octahedron. And those are shapes that everybody knows, or the cube. And we have those shapes around our body, and we literally turn them on and let them spin in a way that allows us to tunnel into a more evolved version of ourselves, even if we haven't done the spiritual work to have arrived there.
It is, and I'm not in any way trying to sound dumb, but has anybody thought about building a giant physical one and having it spin and being in the middle of it?
I've seen a lot of modules that look like that.
Right.
So I've not been in one that spins, so I don't know the answer to that. But the problem partly is these counter-rotating fields that spin against each other. So you have one star tetrahedron spinning one way and another star tetrahedron spinning another way,
right.
And they're at different speeds. The problem is they're exactly the same size, and we do not know how to slide something through something solid. So that's the problem. We hear stories of people who've been abducted where they were carried right through the front door and nobody opened a door for them. So there is technology that can be done if those stories are true, but we don't know how to do that here yet.
I don't want to get too metaphysical here, but I did a session inside of a pyramid not too long ago, one of the copper pyramids.
Okay.
And I got to tell you, I don't know how long this session, it might have been 15 minutes. It seemed like a day Okay, it was incredible, but the things that I saw, I was isolated with headphones. Okay, so I had no idea of the environment around me. But I'm here to tell you, I went somewhere. Maureen, I'm telling you, I went somewhere, and it was pretty crazy. And for me to come out of that and realizing that this journey is possible, this type of meditation is possible, and you can go inside of yourself. These things are real.
Not only are they real, but that is where we're headed, where we're going to be able to do that on a regular basis. Go back to the movie Contact. Remember, there was that whole scene where she was the protagonist was seeing all these things, and then at the end of the movie, they showed that she had never left the ship.
Mm-hmm.
So these adventures, like this adventure that you were on, this spectacular spiritual adventure, was really an expansion of your consciousness. Your consciousness expanded to the capacity where you could feel and experience another version of the reality somewhere else in the universe. So your consciousness expanded.
And this is the same. I'm imagining because I read Beyond the Flower of Life a couple of years ago. Right now, I'm getting ready to read it again. But one of the things, and this is my simple mind trying to attempt to digest this, is that there is a visualization that happens, and I want to talk about sacred geometry in just a second, but the visualization of the Merkaba and it around you is part of this journey of self and the things that you see. Yes. She's holding one up. That is just incredible.
Bigger than my face. Yeah, you do use this as a tool to go somewhere. But what's interesting is I keep getting asked, how do I visualize that thing spinning?
Right.
And how do I visualize this happening? And my response is you have to trust that your intention is enough, because nobody can see anything spinning at 9/10 the speed of light. So how is it possible that you could visualize it? And the answer is you cannot. You can pretend that you can see counter-rotating fields by waving your arms across, like putting, your left hand and your right hand across in front of each other. But that's it. That's the closest you're going to get, because moving at that speed, nobody sees it. And so it becomes a blur or maybe invisible. So it's interesting that you bring this up, because I have had people call me after they took a class, and this goes back years ago when I was, traveling and teaching the Merkaba itself. And someone was making sales calls on in an industrial area in LA, and somebody came in and said, "Did something spinning around you?" And she'd just come from the class. She called me and said, "I can hardly believe it. I can't see it, but this other person could sense it."
The other part of this, when we're talking about numbers and sacred geometry, the Merkaba and spinning and that type of meditation is one thing, but getting into numbers and math and sacred geometry and the flower of life, that this is something altogether different.
Well, here's what I will say about all that. This is a common thread throughout the universe. And we can show this by demonstration. For example, the length of your little finger to the base of your hand is in the same ratio as it is to the palm. So when you go from this length to this length, it's the same as the relationship between the little finger and the palm and your elbow. And what happens is I have a tool that I demonstrate this with. It's a caliper, and it shows people how they are proportionally laid out, and the same ratio shows up, whether we're talking about how plants grow. The distance between Venus and Mercury and the sun is also in phi. If you look at the distance from the top of your forehead to your chin, if you stop in the middle of your nose, that's in phi, or where your third eye is from your chin is in phi to your forehead. All these relationships show up with the same number. So what we're saying is we can show you the connectedness between everything and that it's all proportional. That's why that spiral that everybody sees in the conch shell is so appealing, because it represents the relationship that we all have with our physical bodies. Exactly. So what happens is that level of expansion you see in the cosmos. You see it in the Sombrero Galaxy, if you want to look at a galaxy that shows it very accurately. So what happens is we find this ratio everywhere. We find it in the physical body, and we find it in the DNA. So this magic number shows up no matter what you do to add two things together. So now here's a math problem that I'm going to throw out, and then somebody who is listening and has a pen and paper will do it, and they'll follow it along. But you can take any two numbers, any two numbers.
Just write it down right now.
Any two numbers.
Okay.
And then add them together sequentially.
Okay.
And then add the number above the first number, the result rather, and take it down again. So you're going to make a long line. Let's say you start with 2 and 8. So then the next number is 10. The number after 10 is 18.
Right.
Okay. And then 18 and 8.
Okay, hold on. Back up. Okay, my two numbers I chose are 2 and 14.
Okay.
That equals 16.
Okay, but keep it on a line. So 2 and 14, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's 16. Okay, so I'm going to show you 2 and 14. Okay, can you see that?
Yes.
Okay, so then 14 and 16 are 30.
Oh, got you. Okay, 30.
And then the next number would be 46.
Right.
Okay, and then you keep doing this. The next number is 76. And then the next number is 122. And then the next number is 198. And then the next number is 310, I believe. Did I get that right? 9, 10, 11. No, 320. Excuse me. And you keep doing that. And now count the lines. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We need 2 more lines. And the lines would be as you underline, as you write the addition.
Right.
Okay, so the next number after 320 is 518. And then the next number after that is 838. And then the next number after that is 1356. Okay, now how do I add so fast? This is funny. I add from left to right instead of right to left. Everybody does it the other way, and I do it this way because it's faster. Now, what happens is whatever 2 numbers you started with, and we don't have to use Jimmy's numbers, you take the last 2 digits and divide them, and you're going to get 1.618.
Really?
No matter what you start with. Now, everybody knows the Fibonacci sequence produces that result.
Right.
But not too many people know that you could take any 2 numbers to produce that result. And the reason this is important, I named it the Phoenix sequence. And the reason it's important is because it helps a person get their arms around the idea that there is order in the universe, even when it appears to be random.
That's incredible. It's almost like a trick, but here's
I used your 2 numbers.
But here, yeah, I know exactly. But here's the deal with that. You and I talked the other day, and you were at an art museum, right? Okay. And we talked about our love for art and art museums and things, and we've talked about that. Not your divine moment at line in a line at an art museum, but when you look at a great piece of art, or you look at a piece of architecture, and you look at these, and there is something there that you're comfortable with, and you don't get it. You don't understand. But there is sacred geometry there that is the balance of everything that is in the universe. And those simplistic forms, once you break it down, are exactly what we're talking about here with this 2-number sequence. And you don't understand. You just know that you like this specific piece of art. The artist that created that wasn't necessarily applying sacred geometry to it, but they understood what was beautiful, right? And it's everywhere.
And classically trained artists and architects and builders all know this relationship and consciously choose to produce it. So we go back and analyze and find it. But the truth is, there's lots of artists that were not classically trained. Lots of musicians that aren't classically trained. But the bottom line is those that have been trained about these concepts, and those that weren't trained classically intuitively grok or intuitively grasp it, which is basically what you're saying.
Yeah, exactly. And then if we go back to not only, we could talk about Egypt, but we can go 2,000 years into the future, into ancient Greece, and look at the sacred geometry that is applied in all of that architecture. And if we go back...
Right. The Parthenon is loaded with this relationship.
Parthenon is all sacred geometry. That is all the golden ratio from top to bottom.
And by the way, 1.618 is the golden ratio.
That's right. Okay. And something that I am completely fascinated with. And the classically trained artists that we're talking about, especially in the modernistic periods, fully understood the golden ratio. It is all there. But how is it possible that the golden ratio was around in deep ancient times, right? Before Pythagoras, before geometry was taking off in Greece. If we go back to 2,500, 3,000 BC into ancient Egypt, where the golden ratio is everywhere, how is it possible that they knew?
I guess we have to go back to the ancient visitors who probably taught how that would work. I agree with you. Primitive man wouldn't have known, but I believe that a lot of the structures we have, we inherited from our space brothers, or they taught us how to do those things.
It wouldn't surprise me with some very serious analysis at Göbekli Tepe, right, which predates Giza by another 7,000 years, that we'll find the golden ratio there too as well.
I would agree. The thing that's so interesting is there were some studies done where people were shown a square and a double square. So in your mind's eye, you can imagine what a cube is or a square, and then double it. And then there would be rectangles varying sizes between those two. Now, the rectangle that represents the golden ratio is a very specific, not a double square, but not a square. So this relationship that's in a golden rectangle representing the golden ratio was chosen 80% more than any other shape of the rectangle. So humans gravitate towards it, and they're attracted to it because that's how we're built. We have that golden ratio in our hands, in our bodies, everywhere.
The study of the King's Chamber, not to stay on Egypt, but the study on the King's Chamber as they started to run some serious math and computers into it, that is the golden ratio. And people walk in there and they feel it, but they don't necessarily understand why. But it is perfect. It's perfect. It's right there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And, I did a recording in the King's Chamber where we toned for 90 minutes. And the sound in there is so remarkable. One of the things about the structure of a space that's built like that is the echo effect and the amplification effect. In fact, that's why cathedrals, the ancient cathedrals, didn't need loudspeakers. They didn't exist, but they had the capacity to amplify the voice through the space of the sacred geometry. That's because it replicates and expands.
And if you look at something like, pick a musical instrument, doesn't matter, a tuba, golden ratio, right? It doesn't matter, a violin. And you look at, a guitar. I've got all these guitars. It's the golden ratio hanging on these walls behind me. And that resonance and that magic is something that is in nature, period, throughout the universe.
That's all true. And as we understand that, and then we understand that we're actually spinning the star tetrahedrons in the mathematical equivalent of the golden ratio where we are at in this reality, then you can begin to understand why this perfect vehicle would enable you to be your perfect self.
Let's take our break right here. When we come back, can we talk, do a segment on the Akashic Records? Can we just do that for me?
Yeah, of course.
Let's do that. Let's take our break right here. Our guest tonight, Maureen St. Germain. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. This is Fade to Black on the UNX and Game Changer Networks. We'll be right back after this short break. Stay with us.
Hi, everybody. This is Rob Halford, the Metal God, on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Your 1 million gigawatt paranormal powerhouse, KUNX-DB, the X.
Are you ready to read about true paranormal events? UNX Media publishes nonfiction books about UFOs, ghosts and haunted places, time anomalies, cryptid creatures, and more. Just like KUNX-DB Radio, it's all about unexplained phenomena. Visit www.unxmedia.com to see our list of great book titles by Debbie Ziegelmeyer, Gene Walker, Devin Listrom, Wayne Lawrence, Bill Spicer, and yours truly, Margie Kay. That's unxmedia.com.
Why is it we're not very good with our health regimen until it's too late? We don't put oil in the car until the engine blows up. When the body's out of balance, your health is not so good. Give your body some love. Log on to GetTheT.com. That's GetTheT.com. Try our Life Change Tea, which cleanses you from harmful intruders. A clean colon is one of the ways to bring the body in balance. We also carry organic supplements to help you get where you need to go. So do your body a favor. Log on to GetTheT.com. That's GetTheT.com. You can even visit our sales page to save some dough. Does anybody call money dough anymore? Anyway, if you're looking for short, helpful health tips, go to YouTube and punch in Health Matters Now. That's Health Matters Now. So, log on to GetTheT.com, shop, get balanced, then learn some cool tips at Health Matters Now. You'll be glad you did. That's GetTheT.com.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and I only drink Fade to Black blend coffee from River Moon. Just click on the River Moon coffee banner at JimmyChurchRadio.com. Promo code F2B Blend.
This is the only way forward.
This is Fade to Black. Make contact.
When you're in the house for longer periods of time, you can see them flying or running across the floor. Ooh, yuck. They're unhealthy, gross, and disgusting. Bugs. I loathe bugs. We keep a clean home, but occasionally bugs show up. Well, I found something that is tougher than bugs. Orange Guard. On contact, it kills hidden bugs, including ants, roaches, and fleas. Plus, Orange Guard is a residual repellent. All of the ingredients of Orange Guard are on the FDA generally recognized as safe list. Orange Guard may be used around food, humans, and pets. It comes with a 30-day money-back guarantee. Orange Guard. Available at orangeguard.com, Whole Foods, and Ace Hardware.
Gold loves chaos, uncertainty, and disarray. History shows us what gold does when people aren't sure about the government, the stock market, their jobs, or their retirement savings. Our national debt is skyrocketing. Gold and other precious metals are a defense measure against inflation and a stock market that might take years to recover. So what can you do right now to protect yourself? Call United Gold Group. We offer gold and other precious metals delivered securely within 72 hours. Are you worried about the stock market? We can also help you set up a real gold or silver IRA or a 401k. Safe and secure. United Gold Group makes gold ownership affordable. Call now and get up to $2,500 in free gold or silver with a qualified IRA. Call 800-753-8534. That's 800-753-8534 or visit UnitedGoldGroup.com.
You want to know a secret? I love ponies. I really love ponies. I'm serious. I couldn't stay sane without ponies to brush.
Why fade to black? Because you never got that pony, damn it.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network.
Welcome back. Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, Maureen St. Germain is with us. During the break, she was calipering me. That's crazy to see those ratios.
Mm-hmm.
That's I just got. I was telling you about this earlier. I'll just let the audience know. I got a Vitruvian Man T-shirt, right? And it's the classic, but he's holding a guitar. And it's really funny, man. I'm looking at the ratios there, and I was like, I knew it. I knew it. Okay. Akashic Records. And I remember, my innocence in all of this so many years ago. When you and I had a conversation, and we were hanging out, and I asked you then, and you made me feel like I was smart, so I want to thank you for that. You made me feel comfortable. But you said, I said to you, I keep picturing the Akashic Records as infinite rows of file cabinets, right? And then I expanded on that. I said, or is it, Maureen, is it like giant Google server farms, right? With just endless rows of computers and racks of is that what we're talking about here? And you said to me, actually, yes, that's a good way to look at it.
Mm-hmm.
And
it's
it is for an explanation for those out there quickly. What are the Akashic Records?
the body of knowledge that is holding the experiences of the past, the present, possible futures, and probable futures. There are those who will tell you that the Akashic Records are found in your DNA, but that's like the difference between the local library and the big city library that has all the books. So the Akashic Records is a body of knowledge, a database, if you will, that contains information about your past lives, your alternate lives, your present situation, and your possible or probable futures, because the future is only set by you when you make a decision. But sometimes you're making two decisions. Should I stay married? Should I get divorced? Should I go to this college? Should I go to that college? Maybe once you're at the new college, you decide not to go. You're not to stay because you don't like it. You thought you'd like it, but you didn't. So all these things occur and exist in the records. The Akashic Records show what we've done. They've shown our history. The benefit of being able to access the records is that it allows you to make better decisions, much better decisions. And sometimes it allows you to put up with something that you might not normally put up with. For example, there was a man who called in on a radio show and he asked about his daughter who didn't treat him very well. And he felt he'd been a good dad. He meditated. He taught her good stuff. And he couldn't figure out why, now that she was an adult, that she was so obnoxious to him. And the answer from the record keepers was, you and she were arch enemies in the past, in another lifetime. You went on and grew in spiritual awareness. She did not. She still sees you as her enemy. You agreed to sponsor her. So now you get to love her anyway, and not to have an expectation that she behave in a certain way, but to love her anyway and let her step up. And then they always end with advice. So after they explained all this to him, then they said, this may take a few years, which I think is funny, because as a parent, if you've had a son or daughter that, shuns you or treats you badly, you want it to end, and you want it to end tomorrow. You don't want it to end in 2 years.
Right.
But the minute you know that it's only going to be 2 years, you let go of your need for them to do it. And that literally drops a barrier.
Do you have that conversation, though, with your daughter then? Right? That, we used to be enemies.
I don't think so. You have that conversation with your best friend. Who listens to you and puts up with your BS, and you're complaining. And the benefit, though, of having this awareness is that you're no longer mad. I actually went through this for myself, and I asked, how long is he going to be like this? I'd been paying for college and putting out all this money, and I was broke, and blah, blah, blah. And I said out loud, I want to know when he's going to appreciate me. And my guides came in and said, when he's 28. And I burst out laughing, because that was 4 years from now. That wasn't like tomorrow. And when I laughed, I recognized, I really wanted him to appreciate me. I was holding up a barrier for him to jump over. So because I laughed and laughed at myself, I didn't have to wait till he was 28.
Did he come around?
Yes, in less time than 28, because my barrier to entry, went down.
Now, see, this is the point where I say I get it, but I don't.
Well, think of it this way.
I mean, that makes a lot of sense, though.
Yeah, it totally does. There are people who are making decisions about what's going on the surface. And when they're in the records, they get a whole different scenario. This is kind of a sad story, but a woman who had been molested by her father in the records asked, why did I choose this for myself? And the record keeper said, you came in to stop the madness. And she said, oh my God, that is so true. My father went after my siblings, and I always stood in the way and offered myself instead. So that gave her license. And then the record keeper said to her, you knew you would be able to rise above it. You came in with enough light or enough, God consciousness that you could rise above this situation. And you came in to put a stop to this madness in your family.
Are the Akashic Records it's a universal thing, right? It has to be, if they are what they are, then it's throughout the universe.
That's true. The cosmos has records. The earth has records. We have records. Our pets have records that are directly related to our human records. So even though the pet can't give permission to go in their records, you as the owner can access the information that's related to you. Again, it's very good to help you solve a misunderstanding or a situation that makes no sense. One time I was asked by a client, I want to know about my daughter's ex-boyfriend because all the cats died the same week and I think he poisoned them. And my heart skipped a beat because I thought, oh my God, she's going to tell everybody in town that Maureen St. Germain said the boyfriend killed the cats. And that was just my personality that kind of got in the way. So I pulled my personality out of the way and let the record keeper speak. And they said, you do not need your record keepers to tell you that which you already know.
Does E.T. understand the Akashic Records?
Probably.
And I'm speaking hypothetically here, but it was something that I would definitely like to do. If I accessed my Akashic Records and started to dive into my past and ET questions that I may have, would ET then, right, know that I was asking questions about the past, and then would they then see probabilities of the future? And is this a cross communication tool, right? Is it universal?
I think it is universal. The records are alive.
Right.
So they're not static.
Right.
So in a way, it's a lot like when you're playing a video game. It's interactive and it's live and it's recording all at the same time. As far as other lifetimes, there's plenty of evidence that shows that information from other lifetimes bleeds forward. People who murdered each other get married to each other, in this lifetime, and then discover that part of the drama they're playing out is the fact that, oh yeah, you murdered me the last time around. So there's in other times, there's people who had lost love and they didn't get to finish. And so when they meet, they fall madly in love. It's not just a nice love. It's like overwhelmingly overpowering. And it's because we need to finish this. We came back to find each other and finish it and to have that experience. And then there's the one after that where you had a really good life and this amazing beloved comes in that you have this amazing attraction to, but you're already married, you're already with someone, and you discover that person, you don't need to have another life with them like that, but they came in as the catalyst to get you to get off your butt. Because a lot of times when you're in a comfortable situation, you become complacent. And so accessing the records gives you the ability to identify your own complacency and your own abilities to come up higher and to be more than who you thought you were. One of the biggest things that people get told is that you're a magical being, that you can do more than you're doing, and to give yourself the opportunity. The reason people don't move forward, take the risks that they want to take, try the projects they want to try, reach for the stars, whatever it is fear of failure or fear of success. And what the record keepers will do is help you see what you can do more of. And you can say, is it my highest and best good in the records? Can I move forward with this business venture? And the record keepers can help you know that that's going to go forward. They're not going to be able to tell you how it will come out, but they can tell you that it's all lit up landing field.
Do they ever say no?
Yeah. Well, they it's interesting you asked that question. The way they correspond is more like a grandparent or a board of directors. So they say this is not advisable, or your best choice is moving in a different direction. They're never going to tell you you can't do it or you're not allowed, because that's not their job. Their job is to give you information about possibilities and probabilities. There was a story in the book, in the Akashic Records book, about I kept getting this vision of something happening in an industrial accident with someone, and I kept checking in. Am I allowed to tell this person? Is it appropriate for me to tell this person? I finally got the green light to move forward. And when I said this person said, well, if you tell me not to go, I won't go into this industrial setup. And I said, well, that's a decision you have to make. So they said, well, would you open the records? And the next day I opened this person's records, and the nature of this industrial job was an investigation. And I'm thinking, as an Akashic Records guide, this person is going to ask me, is it my time to go? Can it be mitigated? Can I get around it? Mm-hmm. Is there, lots of things like that. That's where my mind was going. That's not the question I was asked. What caused the accident? And the record keeper said to him, it was to cover up 2 murders.
What?
And I was so shocked. That I pulled myself out of the records and said, nobody died in that scenario, did they? And I was told 3 people died. And it turned out it was mafia related. So it was a whole scenario that I, as a channel in that moment, got information that I had no idea could possibly be known.
Now, what do you do? Do you share that information? Do you keep it inside of yourself? Are you, that sounds like, talk about free will, that you're free willing yourself into a very bad, complicated situation.
Well, the person involved, that actually confirmed as the story progressed, they felt that there was no evidence to have caused what happened. So by being told that it was deliberately set, right, the situation was a deliberate scenario, actually confirmed what they already suspected. So it wasn't a total surprise to them. I was more surprised than they were.
But you didn't know anything about... I
didn't tell this person, though, about any of what I was seeing until I had guidance that said, yes, it's okay to bring it up.
And
right, you can't mess with people's free will. If you get, if you saw your best friend in a car accident, you might say, there's a lot of car accidents going on out there. You might want to be an extra little careful over the next couple of months. But you wouldn't say precisely what you saw. I wouldn't, unless I was told, tell them exactly. And on a rare occasion, I have been told, tell them exactly what you saw.
You're holding, can I ask you, you're holding a crystal. Can you hold it up to the camera?
Yeah.
Look at that. Wow.
This is a Faden crystal. And this is a clear quartz crystal that has threads going in the other way. So it's a 90-degree turn.
Yes.
So you have a point in one direction and you can see the threads, right?
Yes.
Okay. So you get that 90-degree turn and it jumps dimensions. And guess what? How many times have we been told about a spaceship that makes a 90-degree turn and disappears?
And so Maureen's been holding it through this conversation. Just been watching it, and it just fits nicely in.
It does fit nicely in my hand. I have plenty of crystals here, though.
I've got. Here's mine. There's mine, and that's what I hold during the day, and it just one direction, right?
But look and see, are there threads in it? You might have a Faden and not know it.
I don't know. You have to take a. I don't know.
I don't know.
I'll take
hard
pictures.
To see, but it's very cool.
I can't hold it backwards. It doesn't fit.
Yeah,
Right.
mine is the same way. It feels a certain way. It's like playing a little musical instrument or something. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. This is. I wanted to ask you that. My comment is, I didn't understand crystals, 10 years ago, and I'm all in. I'm all in. I'm all in today. I am all in. Okay, we're the Akashic Records, and we can kind of end on this note. What a great conversation tonight. Were the Akashic Records ever physical? Were they ever present on Earth?
I don't think so. What I do know from what I have been shown is that it was desired to have a way of reviewing what had occurred. This is a bigger answer because memory was not meant to rehash a painful experience. It was meant to help you understand something. So the Akashic Records came into being after creation, and they were established as a means to be the resource for life review, to help humans understand situations. And initially, it was only available to those, I'll call them shamans or mystics, who had done their own spiritual work and were able to go to the records. And you never actually go in the records. You're just going to the threshold and you're met by the librarians. But today, anybody can get access. So I have always seen them as a off-planet thing. However, our local records can be in our DNA, and there's talk about that.
Does Vito? Do you go into Vito's Akashic Records, or does he go to somebody else?
He asks me to go into his records, but I wouldn't go in his records without him asking me. And I never offer.
Well, and that I'm asking for the audience. How would you approach that? And because you and Vito are so close, that maybe he would choose to go to somebody else that he would trust. And I know you understand why I'm asking.
Yeah, well, it's so interesting. He actually holds my gifts in very high regard, and he would prefer to have me open his records than anybody else. But I have on occasion said, I don't want to answer that. Why don't you go to so-and-so? I don't want you to hear this from me.
Right.
And there was a situation where things were really intense, and I asked one of the other guides that I had trained to open my records and Vito's records at the same time. And I opened my records and his records. So we had two channels going on at the same time. And a whole bunch of information came out about a past life that we had had together that ended badly. And so the end result was that I had died at the hand of someone else. And then we got off the phone with the other guide, and Vito looked at me and he said, "You didn't close your records, because you always close your records after you're done."
Right.
And I said, "There's one more question that has to be asked." And he said, "What's that?" I said, "Ask who the perpetrator was."
Now, I'm going to see you next weekend, and I want the end to this. I want the end of this. Am I going to see Vito next weekend too?
I don't know the answer to that.
Oh,
He's
man.
actually out of town right now.
Oh, okay.
He could be there,
Well, you guys go together. I mean, when it comes to me, you guys,
yeah.
you guys go together. What a great conversation tonight. And you're going to be, what are you going to be speaking about next weekend in Sedona?
I'm going to be talking more about 5D and the 3 Earths and what's really happening in the reality, so you can stop worrying about where you're going to land.
And this is Suzanne Ross's event. Where's the event at in Sedona?
It's held at the Unity Church.
Okay, and it's going on March 18th, 19th, and 20th. I'll be there on Saturday. Now you're doing the keynote on Friday night. What are you going to speak about on Saturday?
Right now, I don't know the answer. I'm not plugged into time. I don't know the answer.
You're the best. You're the best. I look forward to seeing you next weekend. And thank you so much. Where can everybody reach out and contact you?
You can find me at Maureen at St. Germain Mystery School.com. You can find me by typing my name, Maureen St. Germain, into the web, and it'll land on my website. We just went through a big rebranding so that we would put all of the projects and programs that we offer under one roof. That's why we're calling it St. Germain Mystery School.
StGermainMysterySchool.com. The links are over at JimmyChurchRadio.com. Maureen, always great, fantastic. You glow. I'll be in the presence of your glowness next weekend. Thank you so much.
Nice to talk to you. Thank you for having me.
You're the best. Maureen St. Germain. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. I'm going to take a quick break. I'll be right back on the UNX and Game Changer Network. Stay with us.
Listening to Jimmy Church and Fade to Black on the X.
Hey, what up, y'all? It's your girl Vivica Fox here, and you are listening to my boy, Jimmy Church, on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Despite popular opinion, reading a book will not make you smarter.
But listening to Jimmy Church will.
This is Jimmy Church. Jason Martell's book, Knowledge Apocalypse 10-Year Anniversary Edition, is now available. Most ancient cultures speak of a time when their gods visited them. They never say their gods came from across the ocean or from the mountains. They always came down from the skies. Was ancient man visited by gods or extraterrestrials? We have not been told the full truth about our human past. There was a time when all the ancient cultures lived amongst beings they considered their gods. The search for truth leads us down the path of learning where the ETs might come from and why they are here. To understand some of these advanced topics and learn the truth about human origins, buy the new book from Jason Martell, Knowledge Apocalypse, now in its 10-year anniversary edition, available on Amazon.com by clicking on the banners over on our site, or simply visit JasonMartell.com. That's JasonMartell.com. This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and I take Life Change Tea supplements every single day. It's what I do. Click on their banner at JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Are you ready to read about true paranormal events? UNX Media publishes nonfiction books about UFOs, ghosts and haunted places, time anomalies, cryptid creatures, and more. Just like KUNXDB Radio, it's all about unexplained phenomena. Visit www.unxmedia.com to see our list of great book titles by Debbie Ziegelmeyer, Gene Walker, Devin Listrom, Wayne Lawrence, Bill Spicer, and yours truly, Margie Kay. That's unxmedia.com.
When you take the beans from Central America with dashes of Indonesian and African mixed in and then roast it to the dark side of Fade to Black, you create the ultimate brew of fringe. Introducing the Fade to Black blend from Rivermoon Coffee. Yes, Rivermoon's darkest customized roast was created for the love of Fade to Black. The alchemy of masterful roasting and smoking the beans is in every sip of this full-bodied, dark Java. I need my coffee dark, deep, with distinct bittersweet chocolate highlights, just like the bunker. Leaning further into the darkness of the roast is Fade to Black blend from Rivermoon Coffee. Just click on the banner at jimmychurchradio.com and use the promo code F2BBLEND for 15% off of your order today.
This is Billy Carson with ForbiddenKnowledge.tv. Forbidden Knowledge TV has just reached its 1-year anniversary. That's right, 1 year. And as a show of appreciation, we are giving all new subscribers a free 30-day trial of ForbiddenKnowledge.tv. That's 30 days to binge watch thousands of movies, documentaries, conferences, workshops, lectures, yoga classes, meditation courses, and so much more. So log on to ForbiddenKnowledge.tv from your computer or mobile device, or get the Forbidden Knowledge TV app on Apple TV, Roku, Amazon, iTunes, or Google Play today, and use coupon code 30daysfree. That's coupon code 30daysfree on ForbiddenKnowledge.tv today.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
Erica, Brittany, Gabby, and you're listening to JamieChurchRadio.com.
It's not a lifestyle we chose. We were born this way.
This is KJCR at JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Welcome back. Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church. Open lines. I didn't announce that before the break. 747-228-2051. 747-228-2051. And they are now open. Yes. Okay. 747-228-2051. And so much to unpack with the conversation with Maureen. So much is there. And my okay, I've got a few things. What dreams may come. And that movie, and I'm so glad that she brought it up. And I have the feeling I'm going to watch it tonight. I want to watch Good Girls too as well, but go back and watch What Dreams May Come. And I've watched the movie so many times, but there's a lot to be said about that. Just right there. And the I think that the overarching, there's so many messages in that movie, but the overarching thing was Robin Williams' wife and things that she had to answer for, and she was confused and lost and stuck. And I'm just going to leave that right there. The reason why that movie, I mean, in my opinion, is not only mentioned in this show, but where we are right now. When we brought up 4D, the planet right now, and the reason why I wanted Maureen on this show, I really feel that we have an opportunity in front of us as a planet, right, where we are able to understand now that we just went through, as a human race, everybody on this planet, we just went through one of the biggest events in the history of mankind, and we did it together over the last 2 years. Everybody on this planet was affected. Every single one. Inside of all of that was everything else that was happening at the same time. And was there trauma? Of course. Yeah. I'm not going to say that I wasn't traumatized. Everybody was. But we have an opportunity here to understand what we all went through together and how we can better understand each other, put down the cultural divides, the lines that separate us, not only in the dirt, right? These created lines of divisiveness, but also culturally, that we are all here together. And we have an opportunity to seize on that moment and figure out a way to move forward. Or we can go the other direction and we could take a step backwards. The comments that I had made going back 2 years ago now, we are in March of 2022. Now, if we go back to March of 2020 and think about what was now laid out in front of us very, very quickly, and I had said then that when this ends, we are not going to have to rebuild. We're not going to have, this isn't a natural disaster. An asteroid hasn't hit the planet. None of that. That we will be able to look at ourselves differently at the end of this. And that opportunity will be there. I said that 2 years ago. Well, here we are. We're now at that point. What do we do? Right? And I've seen the divisiveness. I've seen the fighting. I've seen the bickering. And I'm not talking about this community. I'm talking about the planet and how we suddenly found ourselves not only in isolation and not maybe going to school or going to work or hanging out with our families, where suddenly the community and the conversations that we normally have were taken from us. And now we are left to our own devices to go onto the internet for news, for instance, or go onto the internet for relationships, and allowing ourselves to create a bubble around us that may not be an accurate view of the world. But here's the deal. Everybody was doing it. Everybody. You know, and here I think everybody understood and wanted this to end. But what were you going to do when you got there? When we got there? Well, here we are. This is an opportunity for us as a planet, honestly, as a planet, for the first time in history, where we have a global communication network, where we're able to speak and reach out to everybody in the world in real time. It's never been like this before. It has never. Okay. Strange. Okay. That was strange. I'm just going to let everybody know that my phone lines turned on and off in front of me, like by themselves, and I wasn't touching anything. That was kind of weird. Anyway, we have this global communication network. And if we just, look back in history just a little bit, and we go back to the 1980s, 70s, 60s, 50s, 40s, and keep going back, we didn't have the ability to communicate both ways in both directions in real time like we can today. And telephones were not the answer. I'm not even talking about that. I'm talking about real global communication. And we have it now. And this is sitting right here in front of us, and this ability to do that. And we took that tool and abused it and went in the opposite direction with it. And not only can we put some of this on the media, but directly on ourselves. And if you don't have to talk about advertising or data collection and data mining on individuals. That's a whole nother conversation. How those tools are used in social media, whether it's Instagram or Facebook or Twitter or whatever your choices are to use as YouTube. Those are tools for us to use, right? And we've chosen to use it in the wrong way. Why can't we use it for something positive? Some people try to do that. I certainly do. And the conscious decisions that I have made to communicate out with, I've tried to stay positive and not to be negative. Those are my choices, but I try to lead by example. But here we are with an opportunity right now after 2 years as a planet where I just don't get it. Why aren't we coming together right now? Why aren't we happy about where we are? This is the time to elevate right now. When I went back and asked Maureen directly, this person said to me, if we don't all elevate to 5D right now, I'm out. I'm giving it to the end of the year. And at that point, it was like 3 months, right? and I didn't have those answers. And turning around and asking Maureen about this, she understood. And she also said that this person was correct in saying that whether you understand 5D or not, you are going to be elevated. This is going to happen to everybody. We're all going to go through this at the same time. If I back this up to 2 years ago, that's what I thought was about to happen. That this situation that was presented on the world and so quickly that it would be an opportunity for all of us to elevate our consciousness, right? And to understand that we're all in this together. That's what I honestly thought. And if you go back, and how many times have I said, I walk around with flowers hanging out of my pocket. That is not imagination. That is actually how I feel, right? That is how I feel. And so when I bring up what happened last week, when I walked into the supermarket and I saw smiling faces, it was bizarre. It was bizarre because the day before that, I'm in the same market, same community, and everybody's wearing face masks, including myself. And the change that I saw in everybody, kids, parents, men, women, old, young, everybody smiling at the same time. And I thought to myself, aha, it's happening. Everybody feels the relief of pressure. Everybody feels it. And now we can start to get back to normal, and maybe everybody will appreciate a smiling face now and see what is up. And so to take this a step further, so I'm in the checkout line, and Cindy, the cashier, she's probably late 60s, somewhere in there. But I've only seen her like this. I've only seen her eyes, and she's smiling. And I said, "You've got a beautiful smile." And she said, "Well, you've only seen me like this." And she covered her face again, and I could see her eyes. And this weird panic went through my body at that moment, where I went back to this. And I know that my DNA has been altered. And what do I mean by that? For 2 years now, we have been looking at face mask, at eyes. If we go back to the very fundamental principle of what makes us us is this. When we are born, we look at our mother's face, our eyes pop open, right? We're looking at a face. That's our DNA. We're connecting everything. What a smile is, what eyes are, what emotions are. All of that is part of our DNA, and we're making that instant connection. That's what we do. And mother's holding child, and you see a human face. That is part of our DNA. Wherever you walk, whatever you do, whatever you see a photograph, and in this photograph is a forest, but in the forest is a person in the background, in the trees. You don't see the trees, you see the human face. That's what you spot that, you see that. It's part of our DNA. That's it. Walking down a street, you're looking at faces, you can read everybody. You don't even have to, your brain is already calculating every face that walks by you. It's part of our DNA. It's what makes us us. And suddenly, that is taken away. Face mask. Our brains are confused. We were born a certain way to study and see and observe a human face, and you know everything about that person. You know, if they're happy, they're sad, they're everything. It's part of our DNA, and that was removed for 2 years. Now, I feel that I was altered. I really do, because suddenly the face masks come off, and it's like my brain is confused. I was suddenly changed and acclimated into and adjusted into only seeing eyeballs for 2 years. Something's fundamentally got to change. My brain is now trying to figure things out in an alternative fashion. Think about that. And now I've got it back. Now my brain, all of our brains, have to recalculate, reconnect, figure things out again. Now let's back this up. What about kids? So you're 1 year old, you're 2 years old, you're 3 years old, and your brain is developing at the most important point of your life, you know, your first few years on this planet. And instead of doing the normal things that are built into your DNA, which is the human face, that's it, the human face. And that is taken away from a child, and they are forced into wearing face masks, and everything around them, their friends. You know, what about, a 5-year-old at kindergarten, and suddenly, and that's removed. The brain, which has been developing for 100,000 years, 200,000 years, Homo sapiens sapien, a certain way, the human face, period. In the last 2 years, it was taken away from us. The relief that I felt, that what went through me as I saw suddenly human faces, I had a sense of relief, but I was confused. And so now, so quickly, I'm going to say that aside from the fact that I threw my arms up and said, "Thank you, God," in public, and now I'm walking through the supermarket, got a shopping cart, and I'm walking through, and I've got my face mask now is in my pocket, and I'm walking around in a great mood, and everybody's looking at me, I'm looking at them, and we're all seeing faces together. It took me about 5 minutes. I'm going to say 5 minutes. I was in the store for probably 20 minutes, a half hour. But in about 5 minutes, I felt like I was getting back to normal. Okay? And at a certain point, I forgot about the mask. It took about that long. Right now, I'm doing my thing, and I'm shopping and stuff, and I am. One thing that I did notice was that nobody was wearing a mask. Not even those that may have been wanting to still wear the mask. The mask had come off. There were hundreds of people in the store. No mask. So, half hour later, I'm doing my thing and I'm ready to check out, and I pull up and I'm in Cindy's line. Cindy, I apologize if you're listening out there or if you hear this in the future. But anyway, I'm in Cindy's line, and we talk about the mask for a minute, and she then, I said this earlier, she covered her face, and she had said, "No, you've been seeing me like this for months." And when she did that, my brain panicked. Like almost like hyperventilating. My brain got adjusted to no mask pretty quickly. And when she did that, and I'm just looking at her eyes again, I went through this panic, this like thing. So we laugh and we do our thing, and there was a guy in front of me in line, and he was talking about the regulations at his office and that they had lifted him that day too as well, and I'm listening to this conversation. He leaves. I pay for my stuff. I leave. And I was driving home, and I thought about this. What if they bring the mandates back? And here's my point to this. I mean, like, I kind of freaked myself out on this drive home. And it's this. Last year, 2021, had mandates here in Southern California. And I went to Nevada for a conference. And no mask mandates in Nevada at that time. And so I crossed the state line. I'm not really thinking about it. And I knew that they were lifted in Nevada. Which they later brought back. But at this time, no. So I pull up, and this was the crazy part. So I pull up, and I get out. I'm at this hotel, casino. Thousands of people, nobody wearing mask. I go into the casino, nobody's wearing mask. I took my mask off, and I confirmed no mask. Whew, this is great. Because an hour before, I was in California. Right? So now I'm there. And I got adjusted really, really quickly. I was there for 10 days. And 10 days, no mask. And I felt great. Got in my car at the end of this 10 days, had to drive back to California, not even thinking about it. I don't even know if I had a mask in my car, right? I don't know. But anyway, I'm driving. I've got to get gas. And I pull in California side, and I walk in, and there it is, man. I'm walking up, and I'm looking at everybody else. Everybody's wearing masks. And I had to go back to my car. I had to go through. I found one, put the mask on, walked in, and I was sad. I was not in a good place. And I went in. I paid for did my stuff, whatever, coffee. Walk back out, and I'm pumping gas. And I'm thinking, man, I don't like this. I just had 10 days of freedom. And driving back through California, and that was a year ago. And one more year of this, and my brain getting messed with. My DNA, the very fundamental thing that makes me me. You know, me looking at my mom's face when I'm 5 minutes old has been altered. It's been changed. It's been taken away from me. And when I was driving back from the market on Friday after the mandates were lifted, I felt that I remembered how I felt when I did that thing last year, going from Nevada back to California. And I did not want that feeling again. I don't. And that's where we are. We have this opportunity right now, right in front of us, to move on. right? To be better. And we've got to do that. We have to. And that's why Maureen was on the show today. We have to. That 5D, when she said, it's heaven. It's where everything is just right, and we understand ourselves, and we understand everybody else. That's 5D. That's what we have to move to. That's the opportunity that is right now in front of us. This world is in change. Right now, we all recognize what is going on. We know that we're coming off the end of this 2-year pandemic, and we also know that we've got war breaking out in Europe that could quite easily spin out of control, one of our greatest fears. This is our opportunity to stop the madness. Right now, we have to do it. I will do everything, my little small part. I will continue to speak about this because hopefully you're going to just go away from this show with just a little germ in a Petri dish, a little thing that will hopefully grow and will spread, and you'll take it to somebody else, and somebody else will take it to somebody else. And that's it. Those are the flowers hanging out of my pockets. This is Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church. What a great show tonight. And I just needed to speak my piece. Sometimes I just got to let it hang out. Fade to Black is produced by Hilton J. Palm, Renee, Dennis, and Kevin. Announcers are Steve Harder, Gene Vito, and Mark D. Kovar. Webmaster is Drew the Geek. Music, Doug Aldrich. Intro, Spaceboy, spaceboymusic.com. Fade to Black is produced by KJCR for the Game Changer Network. This broadcast owned and copyrighted 2022 by Fade to Black and the Game Changer Network, Inc. It cannot be rebroadcast, downloaded, copied, or used anywhere in the known universe without written permission from Fade to Black or the Game Changer Network. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Until tomorrow night with Richard Bleepin' Dolan, I want you to be safe because it's time to fade to black.
Wow.